All right. Good, got that set up. All right, so hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's program, Tips to Tune Up Your Submission. And if we haven't met before, welcome. My name is Cynthia Velasco, and I'm the VP of not Image Awards anymore, Awards and Recognition this year for the FPRA Orlando Chapter. And I'm joined today by my counterpart, the VP of Image Awards, Julia Amarim. Despina, if you don't mind, we'll advance the slide and I'll share a few updates. So today's session is meant to help you prepare to submit your entry, but if you're way ahead of schedule and actually ready to submit it, kudos to you, but the portal won't actually open until Monday, February 6th. You can access the portal at fpraimage.org. Nominations for PR Pro of the Year and Impress Awards are due by February 17th. Winners of both of these awards will be recognized at our Image Awards Gala in April. So it's a great opportunity to recognize your colleagues in the industry. For details on how to submit, you can visit fpraorlando.org/chapter-awards, and we'll make sure to drop all these links in the chat as we go through the program. As a reminder, Image Award entries are due by Monday, February 27th by 11:59 p.m. Please do not wait until that time. You do have a little over 3 weeks at this point to work on and submit your entry. And also, we do have our mentorship program available if you're interested in having an accredited member look over your entry and kind of guide you through the process. Also, the FPRA Education Foundation is once again giving you an opportunity to show a PR colleague some love. For every $10 donation you make to the foundation through February 28th, they will send a Valentine to the recipient of your choice. You can learn more at fpra.org/Valentine. Save the date. We're going to be celebrating International Women's Day with FPRA Orlando on March 8th. The time is yet to be announced, but we will be meeting at the Girl Scouts of Citrus and hearing from an esteemed panel of professionals trusted to lead and direct PR and marketing programs at premier brands here in Florida and beyond. Look to our social media channels for more information about the time as we get closer to the date. With that, I'll get ready to turn it over to today's esteemed professionals. We have Despina McLaughlin, APR. She serves as the Senior Public Information Officer to Mary Jerry Demings under the Orange County Government of Communications. She's an accredited, award-winning public relations practitioner who assisted in orchestrating and disseminating key messaging related to COVID-19 response, vaccinations, the penny sales tax for transportation, and more recently, the mayor's 12th annual toy drive. Despina received a 2022 Grand Image Award and PRSA Silver Anvil Award for her I Got My Shot campaign. Doreen Overstreet, APR, serves as Public Safety Information and Education Officer at Seminole County Fire Department. Prior to the role in public safety, she served as the Assistant Manager of Digital Communications and Public Information Officer at Orange County Government for nearly 5 years. She is a Grand All Image Award winner from FPRA and has won many image awards herself. Despina and Doreen, thank you so much for being here today and helping us get our members ready for the entries. I'll pass it over to you both.
Let me figure out how to unmute myself. Good afternoon, everybody. How we doing? Good nods, waves. Yeah, okay, I hear you. Yes, so thank you so much for that introduction, Cynthia. Doreen and I are very excited to be here, and I think I got to thank Jose and the entire FPRA board for even considering reaching out. The first person I thought of was Doreen, because not only is she a friend of mine, but a mentor of mine. And a lot of what we're going through, she gave me a crash course on when we worked together here in Orange County. So I'm forever indebted to Miss Doreen Overstreet, as well as Jamie Floor. I can't tell if Jamie is on the call right now, but she has also been very influential throughout this Image Award process and towards my APR. Doreen, was there anything you wanted to add before we get into this bad boy?
No, thank you. I mean, I think we all have our people that have helped us a lot in Image Awards. And I think the biggest takeaway, if you could do anything, is reach out for that mentor and helper. And obviously FPRA has that. And you can also reach out to others, but we're here to help you. I mean, we've won before and we want to see other people win.
Yeah. Thank you, Doreen. I think we saw it at conference, right? Orlando, we have a strong, unified community. And I think the senses that I'm getting from we're in this together. We want more people to win and bring recognition to the area and lots of great mentors here. So thank you, Doreen. So when we got together and started brainstorming this idea, we really were drawn to music. So you'll see a theme throughout this presentation, hence the tune up your submission. And this is a little bit of what we're going to talk about, right? We're going to do some introductions, tell you why we think image awards are personally important, how to start them early, understanding the categories, making sure to choose your words wisely, the supporting materials aspect, getting those additional eyes, those additional APRs, the FPRA guidance, those folks to look over your work is very important. Reminder to follow the rules. That was a big one to get over. And then close out with, why to submit. So we're going to jump in here a little bit more. Those were great introductions, Cynthia, and I think this is just a little bit redundant on our part. So, but I did want to start with why, each one of us submits an image award. And for me personally, I was new to the business. I came from the TV broadcast side of things, the journalism side of things. So this was my first chance to showcase that I have the ability and the skill set and the understanding to execute a campaign at a high level. And while it was a cumbersome task, it has proven to be invaluable, and the respect that I've gotten within this building, the partnerships that have followed, the trickle effect has just paid itself out in tenfold. So that is why I was gravitated to this opportunity. Certainly the upward mobility and the industry respect, and Doreen and certainly Jamie saying, Despina, you need to submit. So yeah, I'll wrap up on this slide with just letting you guys know, yes, 3 years at Orange County. So only 3 years in PR. So that's, I think, pretty unique to being able to execute a campaign at that high level. It was a Grand Image Award for I Got My Shot, a total of 17 awards that we were able to capture off actually the one submission that was slightly tweaked for each one of these categories. A little bit also unique to me is I was also going through the APR process at the time. So it was a big learning curve in trying to understand why I needed all these components. And once I finished the APR, which happened to be after these submissions initially, it all started to make crystal clear sense. So I just wanted to point that out. And the last reason why I did move forward with pushing forward with the image words last year is I could use it in twice. I could use it for my accreditation process and my presentation to FPRA and PRSA. So it was a win-win-win-win-win, so many wins. Doreen?
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of the same way, but I did want to stress to all of you is that I really am such a fan of image awards because it's based on results. It's not just, oh, look at this brochure and you win. So it really makes you put your professionalism to the test. And that, to me, that is a cornerstone of a great award, is actually understanding like why this worked and backing it up. The reason I did it is, I came from 12 years at Linda Costa Communications, and that firm is very, Linda, who built that business, she basically built it on image awards. You can go in that office and there's image awards everywhere. So we always built clients that way. And we also thanked clients that way because you could justify your existence with clients on it. So it's a great thing if, it's also, for recognition for Despina, like, Orange County government. But when I was in a firm, we used that to build a business. And I can tell you, I'm not going to tell you the clients she got, but she got a ton of clients through it, and big ones. That is why too, from a business development standpoint, case study standpoint, job interview standpoint, and to justify your job. So I am such a fan of it, and I'm so appreciative of, I feel really old, but I mean, I was told right from the beginning to enter. So I encourage everybody to do it no matter what level.
Thank you, Doreen. You guys know a little bit about Doreen and I, and certainly you guys know about Cynthia and Jose, and I see Allie Beamer in the room and some other notables in our community. But from this standpoint, we kind of want to get a little gauge of who is in the room and who we're speaking to. So at this point, I kind of want to ask you all to either raise your hand who has their APR accreditation, or you can also jot down in the chat, and I'll ask Cynthia to help me kind of, I see Chris. Anybody else? APRs?
We know Chris for sure.
Allie.
Jennifer. Leilani. Oh yeah, Metro Plan had some great
Lauren.
ones.
Okay, Lauren, yep. So I can't really tell how many people are in the room. What does that correlate to, Cynthia? Quick math, if you can give us an idea of
it looks like we've got 4 or 5 APRs here in the chat that I've seen, or that I'm seeing as I scroll the attendee list. And it looks like we've got some folks who've submitted image awards we've got Chris Chent, who also has his CPRC. So we've got a good group of people here.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys.
Chris is the father of FPRA image awards, by the way. Like, I feel like, I remember him giving this talk. So he is the one who basically shared all the key things on how to submit an image award. So he's probably judging me.
He's judging us both, but something to think about as we go throughout this presentation. I want you guys to think about some of those biggest hurdles that are in front of you now, whether you're an APR or not, because we're going to discuss this at the end. And Doreen and I want to offer some solutions or some workarounds to some of those hurdles that might be in front of you. But I think we're going to get started. So start building early. Again, the theme is music, right? So you're looking at Maren Morris. Doreen, did I get that right? Maren Morris?
Oh yeah, I don't even know. I just like the song. When the bones are good. Yeah.
So that's the gist to this, this slide is, start building early. From my experience here at Orange County, it is very difficult to go back in time and track down these supporting materials or timelines, or when you executed this type of message or got these partners on board or received this type of testimonial or this research. So getting that information collected early and often, and when you're in real time, will benefit you to the very end. The template we all know, right? It relies on 4 categories: research, planning, implementation, and evaluation. So just how I operate here at Orange County is I build out folders that are tagged RPIV, and I start pulling as soon as content comes in through my inbox, or PDFs come through, or video clips, news clips, relatable data. Those are being pulled in real time on a shared drive that I use with my team. And so that's how I usually start building out when I think a campaign has legs to move forward on a image award or a Silver Anvil award, or those sort of things. I think Doreen pointed out recently, I'm currently working through a submission now, and it's asterisked on the screen. Most people fall short on the research. And that was something that she identified on a recent draft that I shared with her. So those are things to think about. And in my instance, I have the research or the data. It wasn't presented in a way that was easily digestible or in the area that it needed to be. And so I'm able to make those adjustments. But that is something that it's sometimes difficult to gather, right? Research sometimes can be expensive, or you are utilizing outside services. But for us specifically, we as a government entity, we really look to secondary research, data from our market. There's so many others that are collecting it. It's fascinating what's out there. So Doreen, I'm going to toss it up to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like for the bones and stuff, it doesn't matter the client or how cool the organization is. It really does have to do with bones, RPIE. Like that's what they look at. That's what judges look at. They're not going to look at the client. Like a lot of times, sometimes PR professionals will just like, oh, we'll rest on our laurels of like, oh, this organization, we get so much media attention. But building a really good submission, it starts starts early, and then you just do it early. You don't, that would be ideal. Now, can we do that all the time? No. But moving forward, if there's something that you're excited about in a campaign, make our pie folder, and you already have you have something, and it helps guide your campaign, which is so helpful. I mean, and this goes back to why the awards are so helpful and important, because it helps you actually build a good campaign.
And before Doreen left Orange County, she created a template for a communications plan. And same thing, within the outline of that communications plan was our pie, and then broken down almost to the exact same categories that you would have to address in your image award. So she built a skeleton, and that skeleton to this day is what I open up and start with on any initiative, any communications campaign that I am tasked in leading. So starting to train yourself in those habits will pay you out on the back end of this when you're starting to formulate that 2-page summary. Oh, wait, I can go to my comms plan that's already laid out in our pie, already has tactics, already has research, has your timeline. Those things then become a lot easier in putting together. And Doreen, did you have an example from Midway Elementary?
Yeah, and Medway Elementary School of the Arts was the top winner for me, and it was a very very clear where our pie excelled, and it had good research, and I identified it very early. Going back to my agency days, we kind of knew what would be good winners. So I think sometimes you'll know what will be a good winner, and we'll be like, oh, this is an image.
And obviously identified, I got my shot pretty early just with the magnitude and the timing of things, and just the partnerships that came through cross-county regionally on that was, primed for an image award. Right now, I'm pretty passionate about an ESOL program that is going on between UCF, Rosen Hotels and Resorts, and obviously us here at Orange County. And so this is just a glimpse of kind of how I set up that communications plan. Well, I follow Doreen's structure that I've tweaked slightly to continue the RPI, but I'm tracking, right, the situational analysis, why this matters, our story, key talking points. And this is a tool that I use. This is 1/2 of a page. I think it's 11 or 12 pages long at this point because I'm in the midst of this campaign. But this helps study the entire group, especially when you're working with multiple partners and there are different needs. This is a tool that myself, UCF Global, and Rosen, their comms folks, are building off of and updating in real time. And so if anybody wants to see that, it's 12 pages of data and research and key talking points, tactics, timelines for executions, events, publicity opportunities, that sort of thing. All right, so our next is understanding the categories. And Shania Twain, anybody big fans besides me, Jose, and Doreen? Gonna get ya. Doreen, if you kind of want to take the reins on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think like if you actually understand and look at all the categories, when you look at what Despina did for her award, there were 17 awards she got from it. So one actual entry can be used in multiple different categories if you do it right, or think about what all your campaign has, because there's tools in a campaign. So don't sell yourself short by just putting it in one category. There's also something, strategically to look against that, when we submitted from Costa Communications or Orange County, I never wanted to compete against ourselves in categories. So we would always kind of look like, okay, what are you submitting for this? And like, maybe I could do a different category, because I don't, you want to try to get your best entry out there for number one and not compete. There's also popular categories. Yeah, I think press release. I don't know which ones. I'm kind of old, but I mean the media. Like I don't know, but there's some that are a lot more popular than others. So don't look at all of them and see which ones that might fit and target accordingly. And you can rewrite different ones to be in different categories and get more awards.
And just to add to that, what I did last year is started with a silver anvil submission, which is extremely aligned with how we would submit an image award. There's some slight terminology that is different, but it's the same RPI process, still 2-pager, still needs supporting materials. And so I started there because they had the tightest turnaround, right? We're in submission period now for Silver Anvil. And then what I did from there with my colleague, Sarah Dillon, we then retooled that to match the FPRA and image award criteria, right? Following the rules. And honestly, it was very minimal time that went into that to make those transitions. And then you submitted again for golden image for the state. And then how about PRSA Radiance Awards? And then, hey, I did a multicultural, this was a focus on a multicultural group, and it had video components, and it was marketing. There's endless possibilities for the categories in which you think that your campaign could excel at and should be considered for submission on these separate categories. I think at the end of the day, when we left golden image, I think it was 6 awards, and we had broken up. One was certainly video component, one was social media, one was website. We just started tearing apart each of the categories we thought we excelled at and started submitting with a very similar 2-page summary, and then all the supporting materials.
And Chris Gent put in the chat that community relations is typically a category with the most entries statewide. It's very competitive. But that's not to say don't enter, but just to know you're going to have strong entries. Also, I think special events too, you got to have a pretty strong one for that.
Chris, can you chime in on the chat? Which categories should people be identifying that are lesser populated, maybe categories? Print. Okay, so printed.
Yeah,
so
like annual reports, brochures. Again, though, like going back to, I know Chris always won for annual reports really well but you know, sometimes when you do annual reports, you overlook research. So that you just have to remember that when you do those printed things, you do still need to follow RPI, and a lot of printed doesn't, you know, you don't think of that. So, but if you have any questions on how annual reports are won, Chris Gent would be the person we want to, but you do have to think of like the RPI.
Thank you, Chris. All right, so we'll keep moving here. As we know, you have limited space. So Doreen, how do we make sure our words count?
Yeah, Leilani said in our chat, biggest hurdle for me was understanding how the submissions are written. It wasn't until I attended the RPI session until APR workshops given by Jamie Floor that it made sense. So there's like an aha moment. So knowing how to write them, there is a science-ish way. I mean, it's not just like I write it and I'm like, you're a good writer and you can win these things. You have to follow a formula, and you have to be really smart and strategic about them, and you know, following exactly RPI, following those objectives, making it measurable, making sure it makes logical sense for everything you're writing. And once you have that down, you even have to look at this, you know, you only get a certain amount of space, and you know, you PR people, we can write all day, man, like obviously. But like Mark Twain said, if I had more time, I would write less. So you have to cut words that are unnecessary, you know, tone it down. A lot of times there's like little orphan words at the end of sentences that then you're taking up a whole sentence if there's, you know, not filling it. Those are little things, but packing as much good, smart information on those 2-page summaries is so important, because judges just read those. So they have to read logically, smart, and, you know, don't waste words, abbreviate when necessary. And that gets with the editing in mind, and you have other people looking at that, but really spending the most time on that 2-pagers.
And I would add to Doreen's note, I went looking for past winners. I went and looked at, I think PRSA posts them, I think FPRA does too, to look at past winning submissions and how they constructed their 2-page summary. And then I went in-house to my girlfriend, Kat Dos Santos, over at the convention center and said, hey, can you show me how you submit? And over in HR, I checked in, goodness, with our HR friends, Kelly and, oh goodness, now I'm gonna mess all the names, but I went to HR over here who submits too and say, hey, how do you guys submit? You've won a lot of image awards. What are those categories? How do you weave them in? And so I went to my network, but I also did research on the winning submissions, which are out there for you to write what do they say? The biggest form of flattery is imitation. Well, if someone's doing it really well and they keep winning, I mean, listen, it's a tool.
Yeah, I mean, that's how we won so much at Costa, is we had a blueprint for all these great image awards, and then we would kind of copy the winners and know what won. And then you do get judges comments, so you know how to keep strengthening them. But yeah, you're right, just looking at the best, and there's looking at the best and copying, or like, yeah. not plagiarizing, but following.
You guys can read between the lines there. We know what excellence looks like, and those that are doing the best, right? They're laying out a blueprint for us to consider. So,
God, they're so smart.
Oh, lots of words. All right, let me see if I can figure out how to go next. There we go. All right, so supporting materials. I'm coming out. I want the world to know.
Let it show, baby. Let it show. And you're supporting materials.
So the key is here, right, guys? Anything you put in your 2-page summary, it has to be backed up in the supporting materials. I hear you, Kelda. Thank you. But that's the reality, right? So I have the great support of an intern this year, which has been wonderful. And so how I've set her up is, I'm the orchestrator of this 2-page document. And I literally have her go line by line to try and match up that supporting materials. And if there are things that add value to that, I want to also include that in that summary page.
But at the same time, you want to make it strategic and smart and visual. So you don't want to add, support materials just to add support materials. You really want it very focused on that 2-page thing, because a judge can be like, well, they said that, so where is it in the supporting material? So they can dock you for that. So I always make it sure that the supporting materials I had were impressive, but like very visual and exacting to what the award talked about. And sometimes you can go beyond, but remember, like, you don't want to just put in stuff to put in, 12 pages of emails of something that doesn't even make sense. Like, like government. Government, we just put stuff in.
Yeah, no, good catch, Doreen, because I think the visual is very important to drive home here. You have to understand that people are, reviewing these on extra time. Usually they've already worked their normal job. This is a volunteering opportunity for them. You want to make it as easy and digestible for them, and visual is good. And I'm going to go to the next slide here, and if you guys bear with me, I'm going to follow this link. And I'm going to show you what Sarah Dillon and I submitted as far as our supporting materials for I Got My Shot, to just kind of get your brain giving you guys an idea of what's available or what you can do. And I will caveat that with Sarah was extremely talented in graphic design of sorts. And so she really helped bring this to life when the storytelling stretched over to the 2-page summary. So can you guys see that? Do I need to zoom it in?
I see it.
Okay, so this is, right, you have to do a cover page, you have to do a table of contents, right? This needs to align with how things are introduced in your summary. And right, we're following a rhythm here. Guess what? It's going to start off with research. We had some.
Nice.
There was quite a bit. Okay, so now
this is really pretty.
So but we collected over time, right? This is not something that 3 weeks out from a submission we started gathering. And so here's your P, your planning. So we reiterate our goals, our objectives. We have some cool photos. This was very a very visual driven campaign. You had lots of stakeholders chiming in. And then we're going to go to implementation, right? We're showing off a lot of great photo. Oh, there's Jose Luis.
There's Jose.
I don't even think he knew he was in this, but you were. And then, I mean, the planning goes on, right? This is probably overkill, but we had it. So we put it in. And this is our implementation, right? So your data from your advertisements, what your advertisements look like on billboards.
And see how organized it is, her headings, and like it's easy for a judge to actually see. And you know, like Cynthia said, you know, you're as a judge, you're seeing lots of things. So you really gotta make it pop and don't overkill it. And Chris said that supporting material is 30% of your score. I forgot that.
So,
and Leilani said she always puts in too much, so Cynthia has to rein her in to take out. So it's that, you know, that's another thing for supporting material. You can have someone look at your supporting material for. See, when I submitted, we did binders. Like I've done it online, but I am a binder girl. Like we had the binders and we had so many binders. So like I'm old school. I still believe in binders.
It was funny because Doreen and Jamie helped prep me for my APR, and they're like, well, are you going to go in person and the binder, or are you going to set this up? I'm like, Doreen, I'm doing this thing digital. So, but somewhere in the middle, I mean, I picked up on both. Yeah, the binders are cool. So if we can kind of keep touching on this, and I'm happy to share these materials too for anybody that needs them. I know with our Orange County family, they're already in their hands to help them build out their image awards and submissions for this year.
And Chris said he dropped all his content into Canva and created it from there, which is a good suggestion. Like visual, smart, like dang. I feel like Chris is a co-presenter. He's like telling me.
Turn his mic up. Chris, you're on.
Well,
yeah.
I am the Golden Image VP this year, so I should know my stuff.
Well, chime in whenever you want.
I'm like, yes, Chris, I concur. Whatever you said.
Yeah, no, I'll chime in at the end, but you guys are very much on the right track.
Right. Okay. Well, good deal. I think Doreen and I touched on this a little bit earlier, but more eyes, the better, to look at your submissions, to look at your supporting materials. And I do know that there is a panel of APRs that are available through FPRA. You know, they volunteer to mentor you through this entire process and through the submission too. So I know, Cynthia, you probably have a link you're going to share with this group, but that's really, really cool to have, is that added support system.
Yeah, and remember, I think it's really cool when we talk about, you know, don't be offended by your edits, because when I look at things, I'm going to look at things the way you judge. So APRs are going to be very picky, and it's going to be sometimes annoying to you. You're going to be like, oh my God, I spent so much time on this. I remember getting to Despina and I'm like, oh my God, she's going to kill me because I ripped it apart. I was like, oh, da, 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 da. And I think Jamie did the same thing, but it was done out of love. Edits are done out of love because we want you to win.
Yeah. And I will tell you guys, I think I touched on this earlier, like when I was orchestrating and compiling and drafting for I Got My Shot, I hadn't earned my APR yet. I was still kind of like treading water, trying to understand all these concepts by, you know, on top of my normal job, which sometimes can be stressful, right? With some sensitive things that come on my plate, and submitting this and outreaching to those I trusted in the APR community, Doreen and Jamie. And I was like literally holding on to every piece of feedback that they would provide, because I knew that they provided that, you know, to me, they took time out of their day to help me. And so you know, there's no room to kind of, like Doreen probably phrased this better, but to just take it in a sincere form. And everybody wants to see you succeed. They want you to do well. They want, as a community in our region, to be represented at the highest level. And so if you can get used to asking for more feedback for those that are willing to provide it, latch on.
Yeah, I don't know. I was raised with lots of people editing my stuff. So I actually get annoyed if you don't have edits on stuff. So I think if you reframe your mindset, you'll be like, what? Come on, you can edit more. Come on, you got more for me. So.
Well, let's see. I will move us along here. All right. So follow the rules. Judges will give. Doreen, I get you. You're playing on the words. One less problem if you do.
Yeah, I mean, read them so well. I mean, they're very, very picky on it, and they can throw your entry out very easily if you don't follow the rules.
And this comes down to like
I do not follow rules very well. I don't follow directions well. I don't cook, you know, because like cooking is following directions. It's just, you just really have to. I have to read the recipe like 8 times. So read the entry 8 times if you don't follow directions well, and then check it off to make sure you're following everything.
Yeah.
Like font size, spacing, labeling, whatever.
Yeah. No, good point, Doreen. And I think one way you guys can kind of work proactively is already know those heading in before you start drafting. And then the settings are already in place. So you are working within those font size, spacing, the font, you know, the desired font, the margins, like those are already in place. Those are things that can be taken care of before you even start jotting down your ideas for your 2-page summary.
Chris Gent also had good stuff in the chat that I also wanted to mention. Like, so if you say in your submission about, you know, for example, you had a great turnout at an event, like having a photo to show that, you know, you really want to think visually and say like, okay, can my words be justified, and show those photos and stuff. And like Despina, yours were so beautifully visual and content smart that it just, I think that I'm really jealous of your beautiful supporting materials that you showed. Like,
I can't take full credit.
Mine were lame compared to yours.
Sarah Dillon, like I said, she had that like marketing, the graphic design eye, and she just ran with it. So that was such a benefit. I can tell you now, Victoria, are you on here? My intern now is not as savvy in those regards, but she's doing a great job too. But Sarah's left a outline, a blueprint for us. So that's what we're going to keep aiming for here, at least in Orange County. Yeah. All right. I think we have follow the rules. Judges will give you.
Oh, and then the judges, usually they've won awards and stuff. So they're really savvy judges. Now, you don't know what chapter you're going to get or whatever. I have opinions on that, but I'm not going to say it because this is a recorded webinar. But I will say some, you know, places are a little tougher, like Tallahassee, because they are really tough for government. That's what I feel. So I don't know, like, everyone has their little stickler. You can tell certain judges have sticklers for, you know, Hispanic outreach and how did you do different audience. So some people are very, very specific on target audience. So like you just make sure that you're going to have those picky judges. Maybe one you're going to get and they're going to put down your score super bad. So write it like, you know, you're going to have a picky judge, because most likely you probably will get one thrown in there.
Yeah. And again, planning it out. Planning is like my favorite thing to do in life. And so when you are reviewing the criteria for the image award, they tell you what they're going to judge you on. So already implanting those on your 2-page summary in the sense of like, they're going to want to know demographics of the audience that you're targeting. So go ahead and lay out that format. So, you know, as you're orchestrating your 2-page summary, you don't leave one item off, or try not to leave one item off that you know that they're going to be looking for. And oftentimes I think Doreen and certainly Kelly Ferris and the crew in HR taught me, like, you can bold things, you can underline things, you can bring attention to their eyes, that will help drive in that sentiment or that note that you really want to get to come across.
Oh, can I also mention one other thing? And this is like the awards, like what the names would be on the awards. My thing is, you can always buy awards that have your name on it, but I always like if there's a submission, you know, there's usually more than 1 or 2 people that work on a campaign. So I do prefer like an organization, or we would do it on behalf of a client. But that's just kind of my pet peeve of like, there's just make sure when you submit that you understand that it's not just like, oh, this is the Doreen Award, that there's a team that puts this all together. I mean, Despina will speak, like for Orange County, I can't tell you how many people had to touch that to make that award amazing. So I think that's also another thing to remember and recognize people when you do these awards. You may be the person who's leading the effort, but understand that so many people make this happen.
Yeah, good point, Doreen, because I think in the instance where I got my shot, we were in the middle of vaccine rollout. So our team members were limited to probably Sarah Dillon and I as far as strategy and moving it forward. But between the countless videographers, the digital team, the photographers, the mayor's special assistants that help coordinate some of those billboard shoots, I mean, we touched and utilized as many people that would help us. I will tell you that. This is one of our last slides, guys. Why submit? So you kind of see the end product here. Doreen shared with us a photo here.
I found those under my bed.
Look at those, 2006? Is that?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
No.
So old.
We know Costa has a lot more.
Yeah, so those were awards I bought like after the fact that had my name on for it. But you'll see, you know, I just, like a lot of times I just did it for the client and I gave it to the client and they hung in their office and stuff. It's just a really nice thing to do and to have on your wall. So I'm going to put them in my office, even if they say 2006.
And just to add to that notion for Doreen and I personally, coming from TV and coming from the journalism field, there wasn't a whole lot of recognition or appreciation. And these are projects that usually are hours and hours of your life, weeks, months, sometimes years. And so to take the time, and it does take time to put these image awards together, the payout and the reward is you know worth it's you know, however you want to say it, it means a lot. It means a lot, whether it's just to our ethos and who we are, but certainly organizations. It's stuff to add to your LinkedIn. But I know for us specifically in here in Orange County, it resonated with our, you know, our C-suite folks on the 5th floor. It means something to our mayor that we are recognized for these. It's something that came to the BCC chambers. It is something else to hang a hat on and showcase the excellence in your communications department and how you truly execute at the highest level. So go for it. You see the image on the bottom right-hand side, that's Sarah Dillon and I with that grand all image from August, I think August, September, over at Ritz-Carlton. I think many of you guys were there. And Sarah is no longer with our team. I wish her the very best at CBS, but we're very close. And I think that's what we have here at FPRA. We have a very close-knit family of communicators that want to see each one of us excel and stand ready to assist where needed. So that's what inspires me too, this community, all of you guys, truly. All right, this is the last one. Questions?
I have this framed in my office. This is my favorite picture.
Doreen and I were obviously together for the strategy, and she was kind of a guiding light for me. And so this was launch day when we rolled out our trailer and had everybody and their mother at this event. These moments with your team members, your colleagues, that's what I take away the most. So thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Yeah. So who's got questions?
I love the chat in here. I found so much good info on it. Thank you guys for participating in it.
Yeah. Ooh, sorry.
Chris, did you want to go ahead and share your thoughts? We appreciate you being here.
Yeah, no, and I had the pleasure of being one of Despina's judges last year, so that was cool being judging that award. Yeah, so don't wait. Start now on your images. I know that was said earlier, yeah, definitely make sure you start now, because I know the end of February is going to come up really quickly, you know, it's going to be here before you know it. The rubric is your friend. Don't deviate from it. Like, make sure you have everything in there, because if you're leaving something out, you're automatically going to be behind. So make sure you follow the rubric, and again, ask your colleagues, your friends, to help you out, because it's good to have another set of eyes. I dropped my information in the chat, and if you have any questions about golden images, which I hope after you submit in local, you submit in golden, feel free to reach out to me. Golden images will be here before you know it too. So make sure after you get your judges' comments, you can tweak your submissions a little bit, and then resubmit for golden image. But again, thank you, Despina and Doreen, for sharing valuable information. I hope everyone was a little less intimidated, and I hope you all submit your entries.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Did anyone else have questions for Despina and Doreen?
Leilani did. When you get judge feedback, how do you disseminate that info and tweak your next award entry using the same submission? So when you get judge feedback, I would definitely take that judge feedback. Like Chris said, when you do the local and then you want to submit it for golden image, you take that judge feedback, and then sometimes I would rework the entry because I would see some parts where it wouldn't do as well. I actually had one entry that got an award of distinction, but then did really well in state after taking the judge's advice, because I just overlooked it and it made a lot stronger entry. Sometimes you can't do anything with the judge thing because you just don't have it, and if it's still a strong entry, you could work with it. But I would take every judge feedback seriously, because they write it and they usually know what they're talking about.
And just to add to that, you'll after the local image awards, you should get that feedback right after the image awards, maybe a day or two, and then you'll have that info so that you can tweak your submission.
Yeah, Julie and I will make sure that if you submit, you get that feedback ASAP, so you can go ahead and submit to golden image.
The most frustrating thing I found is when sometimes you get like a lower score and there wasn't any feedback. I thought that was the most frustrating. So I always appreciated when judges said why they scored lower. My most frustrating thing would be see something and you're like, well, what do I need to do? And when I got like a 70% and I couldn't get to award of distinction. So you're trying to, so hopefully you will get feedback on it.
More feedback, the better. And I'll just go back to Jose and I, those of us in the room that have worked in TV, that was something very hard to come by. And so I admire that of this group, this profession, the level that everybody executes their job and is willing to provide that feedback. Again, I can't praise you all enough, honestly.
Hi, everybody. It's Allie. I just have a question. Hello. So for the categories that are smaller in nature, so for example, like an internal or external video or an annual report or a press release or a pitch, in terms of the support materials, when there's not a lot of support materials to kind of include, is that okay? Is that, I don't want to flood it with information that doesn't make sense, but I also don't want to include things that maybe not needed, like emails or things like that. But what would be your advice for supporting materials for entries that may be a little bit smaller than campaigns?
Do you want to jump in first instead of preface?
So last year I submitted, it wasn't necessarily a campaign, it was a virtual special event, and that I pre-recorded that for Memorial Day. We weren't ready to get back into the in-person thing yet. But what I did was, I included, I guess you have to include research, what were other cities doing. That's kind of how I incorporated that support material. And then really for the rest of it, it was basically documenting the video, the actual process. So if there's ways to document those, little nuances of what you're working on and putting that in the support material and why you did it, I think that would be the best way to approach that.
And Allie, I don't think your threshold is as much for a campaign, like you said. Like you don't need as much, but I think you do have to be thoughtful. Going back to annual reports, if you don't show research, yeah, you're going to get docked and you're not going to be like a image award winner. So it just being strategic in the actual RPI and can you show that in some way. And I think that the collateral is a really great way to take advantage of RPI. I'm trying to think, like when I won for brochures, it was usually like showing a really disgusting, ugly brochure before, and then showing an awesome one afterwards and why it worked and testimonials of why it worked, and client feedback, and also measurables of like we got X% more, referrals or something like that. So that's like a way to document a collateral that works really well.
And I think too, when I started splitting up our video items or our website, I think what we did is centralize all the supporting materials that we had for those things. And while we did have loose categories to touch on our RPI in totality, it was a really focus on the initiative for the video or the initiative for the website. And so that document, I think I showed you, was like 30 pages originally. It would be chopped down to about 10 pages or so based off of those specific tactics.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. Any more questions? I know we have a couple more minutes, right, Cynthia?
Yep. Going once, going twice.
I'm going to try to go to the March 8th thing. I'm trying to look at my calendar. I've been trying to do more stuff. So go to the March 8th thing, guys.
Yes. Please come to our program out on March 8th at the Girl Scouts of Citrus. Jose Luis, I don't know if you want to add anything else, but yeah, we're excited to have an in-person program next month. This month is definitely going to be lighter, but that's because we really want you guys to focus on submitting your Image Award entries and also submit your colleagues for PR Pro of the Year and Impress Awards. So thank you everyone for attending, and we'll make sure that you get the recording of this program, a link to our resource library, a link to the state website, which has even more resources than we have, so you can be set up for success. And feel free to reach out to me, to Julia. We are your image chairs for this year. Chris also shared his contact information in the chat, and we're happy to help you along the way. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much. Great presentation.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.